First of all, I mean, it's not official yet, actually, but we know Sadiq Khan has won Mayor of London. Do you welcome the fact, as Steve Hilton did, great cosmopolitan city has a Muslim mayor?
Well, yeah, I mean, yes, in a way. I voted for Zach. I think Zach would have been a better mayor. He may well still be. We haven't had the official declaration, but we're not far off it. But I think the fact that London can have a debate between two people of different religions, reflecting the fact that we've got a multi-religion city, I think is overall positive for London.
And what did you think of the campaign? Because obviously it has been widely panned, hasn't it? And now we know, absolutely definitively, it didn't work. So, I mean, it was kind of criticised before, but now we know it didn't even work. I wonder what you think of it, whether you think any lessons, for example, need to be taken from that.
Well, I think that's a little unfair. I thought that the campaign had huge positive elements on housing and transport, and especially on the environment, which Zach Goldsmith has got a long history on and has been working on for many years. And if you look at the statistics that we've seen so far, actually, the proportion of the vote that Zach got is very similar to the proportion that we got in the general election a year ago in London. So I think there's a bigger question. London has obviously proved at the general election last year, and then again today, more difficult for us than other parts of the country. And because if you look at the rest of the country, you know, we did pretty well in the English council elections. We took seats and we got councils away from Labour in key battleground areas like Bury in Lancashire and Nuneaton. We all remember Nuneaton from election night. And then, of course, Scotland, which is the big positive result for the Conservatives.
Right, but you clearly are out of sync in London. So I'm just, in a word, are you satisfied with the campaign, or do you think now the Tory party need to learn lessons from that campaign that didn't work in London, which is different from Nuneaton and Scotland, and need to learn lessons from that?
Well, clearly, what I'm saying is that there is something about London that is changing in a different way to the rest of the country. But I think it's unfair to pin that specifically on this campaign. There's a bigger question, and that's clear from the fact that we did about as well in London at the general election last year as in the campaign.
What lesson do you take from
today?
Ruth Davidson's success in Scotland? David Cameron implied that if you campaign in a moderate and positive way, you can get votes, and that's the lesson he drew, which seems like a veiled criticism potentially of Zach Goldsmith. But I just wonder what you take out of the Ruth Davidson.
Well, I think she's a wonderful politician. She's a modern, compassionate Conservative. She's upbeat and vibrant. And there's a potential for a real realignment of politics there. You know, when you give the powers over tax and spend to Scotland, instead of this Scottish debate being constantly just about how are you going to spend the money that comes here, instead it becomes a debate about how much as well, and should we put up taxes. There's a space for a centrist, sensible Conservative Party to be making an argument that hasn't really been heard in Scotland for 20 or 30 years.
Loads of people today saying, wouldn't it be nice if she was leader of the Conservative Party, not just leader of the Conservative Party in Scotland? Can't happen, though, can it?
Well, David Cameron's the leader, and he's just had for a party that's been in government for 6 years, he's just had a pretty good set of election results.
I mean, look, the new politics is this rather patchwork thing. It is also that we have a government that obviously can't get a majority of 100, like governments sometimes used to do, and have to U-turn on everything. It's extraordinary today. We had yet another really big U-turn on the Academies programme that you were trying to force through. I mean, I won't even waste our time trying to list all the other U-turns we've had. It's amazing what this is meaning, this new politics.
Well, we can come back to that, but I just want to pick you up on something that you said in the question, which is that no longer can we get the sort of majorities we used to see in the past. Actually, one of the most significant results from tonight is that because in Scotland the SNP have entrenched, they lost their majority, but they've entrenched, and because we came second above Labour, it is now almost impossible for the Labour Party to win the next election without the support of the SNP. And that is
You're starting that scare already, 4 years away from the general election.
That is no scare, that is a fact, and it was a fact at the last election, And it looks like from tonight's results, it'll be a fact at the next election as well. And so that is, the Scottish result is significant within Scotland. The Conservative Party coming second, but it's also important for the next general election.
Talking of scares, just a last digression. 8 police forces now investigating Conservative election expenses. They've got an extension on the time they've been allowed, or some of them have already, to how long they're allowed to investigate this. Are you and the party scared of the implications of that? Something like 27 MPs' expenses being investigated from last year?
No, as far as I understand, all of the rules were followed, and I'm sure that the investigation
errors were made. Administrative errors have been admitted.
Well, I'm not. You know, there's an investigation underway. I'm not going to get into the details of it, but as far as we know, that the rules were followed.